October 17th, 2009, Black Pine County, Montana. There are places in America people stop talking about. Not because the stories are fake, not because nobody believes them, but because the people who survived those places came back different. Some refuse to sleep with the lights off. Some disappear a few months later. Some start hearing things that are not there. And some never speak again. This story began with a road so isolated that even truck drivers avoided it after midnight. Locals called it the Hollow Stretch. No streetlights, no houses, no phone signal, just endless forest on both sides and miles of cracked asphalt cutting through the mountains like a scar. Officially, nothing strange ever happened there. Unofficially, 43 people vanished on that road between 1981 and 2009. No bodies, no wrecks, no evidence, only abandoned cars, engines still running, doors left open. And in almost every case, the radio was still on. My name is Daniel Mercer, and in 2009, I was a freelance videographer trying to become famous online before YouTube turned into what it is now. Back then, people wanted real paranormal footage. Not edited garbage, not fake screaming thumbnails. Real fear, real places, real danger. So when my friend Tyler called me about Black Pine Road, I thought it was the opportunity of a lifetime. I wish I never answered that phone. Tyler Graves was the kind of guy who laughed at everything. Ghosts, demons, serial killers. Nothing scared him. He had messy blonde hair, always wore old army jackets, and acted like every terrible situation was somehow hilarious. He called me at 1:14 in the morning. "Danny," he said, breathing heavily, "I found our next video." I was half asleep. "What are you talking about? You ever hear of Black Pine County?" "No." "Good, nobody has." I remember hearing papers moving on his side of the call. Then silence. Then he said something strange. "Do you believe a place can be hungry?" I laughed. "No, go to sleep." "I'm serious." He sounded different, not scared, excited, like someone who had discovered buried treasure. "There's this road," he continued. "People disappear there. People disappear everywhere. No, listen to me. I found police reports. Missing hikers, drivers, even deputies. That got my attention." "Deputies?" "3 of them." I sat up in bed. "Oh, okay, that's weird." "You know what's even weirder?" "What?" "They found one of the patrol cars 2 days later. And the headlights were on. Driver's door open." He paused. The radio was broadcasting somebody breathing. For a few seconds, I said nothing. Tyler laughed. "See, even you got chills. It's probably fake." "That's what we're gonna find out." 3 days later, we were driving toward Montana in Tyler's old dark green Ford Explorer. There were 4 of us. Me, Tyler, Rachel, and Noah. Rachel Kim handled sound equipment and photography. Quiet girl, smart, always carried a small notebook everywhere. Noah Bennett was Tyler's cousin. Huge guy, beard, former mechanic. He didn't believe in ghosts at all, which made what happened later even worse. Rain hit the windshield for nearly 6 hours straight while pine forest swallowed the highway around us. The deeper we drove into Black Pine County, the fewer cars we saw. Gas stations became rare, then non-existent. Eventually we passed a rusted sign that read, "Welcome to Black Pine County. Population. Underneath it, someone had spray painted, "Turn back." Tyler grinned immediately. "Oh, this is perfect." Noah rolled his eyes. Every creepy town writes that on signs. But Rachel was staring out the window. "At least 20 houses are abandoned already." She was right. The town looked wrong. Not poor, not broken, just empty, as if people had left in a hurry. Stores still had signs hanging outside. Cars sat in driveways, but almost nobody walked the streets, even stranger. People avoided eye contact. At one point, an old woman standing outside a grocery store saw our camera equipment through the car window, and her face changed instantly. Not curiosity, fear. Real fear. She actually stepped backward, then hurried inside. Tyler whispered dramatically, "Now this is cinema." We checked into the only motel in town, the Pine Rest Inn. The neon sign outside flickered constantly. Half the letters were dead. Inside smelled like dust and old cigarettes. The man behind the counter looked about 70 years old. Skin pale as paper. Eyes tired, his namatag said. "Walter." Tyler immediately started asking questions. "You know anything about Hollow Stretch Road?" Walter stopped typing, slowly looked up, and for the first time since entering town, Someone truly looked nervous. You boys reporters? No, Tyler smiled. Documentary. Walter stared at him for a long moment. Then his eyes moved to Rachel. Then Noah. Then me. Finally, he leaned closer and quietly asked, "You planning to drive there at night?" Nobody answered. Walter inhaled slowly. "Don't," Tyler smirked. "Why?" The old man's fingers tightened around the desk. "Because the road doesn't take everyone immediately." The lobby became silent. Even Tyler stopped smiling. Walter continued staring directly at him. "Sometimes it lets people leave first." I felt cold all over. Noah forced a laugh. "All right, man, good one." But Walter wasn't joking. "You hear knocking on your car?" he said quietly. "Do not open the doors." Rachel frowned. "What kind of knocking?" Walter ignored the question completely. Instead, he reached beneath the desk and pulled out an old cassette tape. He placed it in front of us. "No cameras when you listen to this." Tyler looked thrilled. "Is this real?" Walter nodded once. "State police gave it to me after my brother disappeared." Noah whispered, "Jesus." Tyler immediately grabbed the tape. "What's on it?" Walter answered without emotion. "The last radio transmission from Deputy Harold Pike." That night, rain hammered the motel windows while all four of us sat around an old cassette player in Tyler's room. The tape hissed loudly when it started. Static. Then a man's voice. Calm at first. "This is Deputy Pike requesting backup near mile marker 11. Static interrupted him. "Vehicle abandoned on roadside." More static. Then silence. For almost 20 seconds, nothing happened. Then breathing. Heavy breathing. Tyler looked at me and mouthed, "This is insane." The deputy spoke again, but now his voice sounded different. Shaking. "I can hear somebody outside my cruiser." A loud thunk echoed through the tape. Rachel jumped. Another thunk, like knuckles hitting glass. Deputy Pike whispered, "They're knocking on the windows." Another bang, closer this time. Pike began breathing faster. "I can't see them." Thunk. 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 Then came the sound that still ruins my sleep 17 years later. A woman's voice. Soft. Right beside the microphone. "Let us in," Noah muttered. "Nope." The deputy started panicking. "There's nobody there." The woman interrupted him. "Still con. Still close. You left us outside." Then all at once, dozens of knocks exploded across the recording. Not random, synchronized. Every window at the same exact time. B-A-N-G. 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 Deputy Pike began screaming. The radio crackled violently. Then came one final sentence. A sentence barely audible beneath the static. "They're under the road." The tape stopped. Nobody spoke for almost a minute. Rain continued pounding outside. Tyler finally whispered, "We go tomorrow night." Rachel immediately shook her head. "No." Tyler laughed nervously. "You seriously backing out? That recording wasn't fake." "Exactly. That's not a good thing." Noah stood up. "It's probably some local cult messing with people." But I noticed something. His hands were shaking, just slightly. Tyler rewound the tape again. "Tomorrow," he said quietly, "we make history." And somewhere outside the motel room, 3 soft knocks echoed against the window. Knock, knock, knock. None of us moved after the knocking started. 3 soft taps against the motel window. Knock, knock, knock. Not loud, not aggressive, almost polite. Tyler slowly looked toward the glass. The curtains were closed. Rainwater slid down the outside in slow streams while neon light from the motel sign flickered red through the fabric. Nobody spoke. Then it came again. Knock, knock, knock. Exactly the same rhythm. Rachel whispered, "Please tell me one of you is doing that." Noah stood up first. "Probably a branch." "There's no tree outside that window," Rachel replied instantly. The room became silent again. Tyler reached toward the curtain dramatically. "Ladies and gentlemen." "Don't," Rachel snapped. He froze. For the first time since arriving in Black Pine County, Tyler actually looked uncertain. Then the knocking stopped completely. No footsteps. No voices. Nothing. Only rain. Noah forced a laugh. "See? Win?" But nobody believed him. We barely slept. At around 4:30 in the morning, I woke up to the sound of movement outside our room. Slow footsteps. Crunching gravel. Back and forth. Back and forth. At first I thought it was another motel guest. Then I noticed something strange. The footsteps never got closer or farther away. They stayed in the exact same spot for almost 20 minutes, like someone pacing, waiting, I finally looked through the blinds. The parking lot was empty, but near the edge of the trees beyond the motel, I saw a figure standing perfectly still beneath the rain, too far away to see clearly. Tall, thin, and watching the building. I remember wiping condensation from the glass and whispering, "What the hell?" The figure slowly lifted one arm and pointed toward the mountains, toward Hollow Stretch Road. Then it stepped backward into the trees and disappeared. I didn't sleep after that. The next day, the town somehow felt even quieter. Clouds covered the mountains completely. The air smelled wet and metallic, like an incoming storm. We stopped at a diner near the edge of town before heading out. Almost every person inside looked over when we entered. Not normal curiosity. Recognition. As if they already knew where we were going. An older waitress approached our table holding coffee. She kept glancing nervously at our cameras. "You folks passing through?" Tyler smiled. Something like that. Then he asked the question directly. "You know anything about Hollow Stretch?" The woman stopped pouring coffee immediately. The entire diner felt quieter. Even the cook behind the counter looked over. "You shouldn't say that name loudly," she whispered. Tyler exchanged a grin with Noah like this was all part of the adventure. But the waitress didn't look amused. "You kids leave before dark," she said. Rachel leaned forward carefully. "Why are people so afraid of that road?" The woman hesitated. Then she quietly answered, "Because something lives there." Noah sighed immediately. "Here we go." But the waitress ignored him. "My son disappeared on that road 12 years ago." Nobody spoke. Her hands trembled slightly while she placed the coffee pot down. "They found his truck near mile marker 11. I felt my stomach tighten. "Same place from the tape. What happened to him?" I asked. The woman looked directly at me. "They never found enough to bury." The diner became completely silent. Then, from somewhere near the kitchen, a plate suddenly shattered on the floor. The waitress flinched hard enough to nearly scream. And that was when I noticed something strange. Every clock inside the diner had stopped. Every single one. Different models. Different walls. All frozen at. Exactly. We spent the rest of the afternoon preparing equipment. Extra batteries. Flashlights. 2 cameras. Audio gear. Tyler acted excited the entire time. But I noticed he kept replaying Deputy Pike's tape alone whenever he thought nobody was watching. Especially the ending. There, under the road. Around sunset, we finally left town. Walter, the motel owner, watched us from outside the office while smoking a cigarette. As we loaded the SUV, he walked toward me quietly. "Not Tyler. Me. You seem smarter than the others," he said. I didn't know what to say. Walter reached into his jacket pocket and handed me a small silver crucifix. "Old and scratched. I'm not religious," I told him. "That's all right," he replied. Neither was my brother. We almost gave it back. But something about the way he looked at me stopped me. "Listen carefully," Walter whispered. "If you hear someone, calling from the forest," he paused. "Do not answer." Then he stepped away before I could ask anything else. By 10:43 p.m., we reached the beginning of Hollow Stretch Road. The forest there looked wrong. Not dead, not alive either. The trees were enormous black pines packed so tightly together that moonlight barely reached the ground. Mist drifted between them like smoke. Tyler mounted a camera onto the dashboard. "This," he said dramatically into the lens, "is Black Pine County's infamous Hollow Stretch." Noah laughed. "Man, your documentary voice is terrible." Rachel wasn't listening. She stared out the window nervously. "You guys hear that?" We all went quiet. At first I heard only wind. Then, faint metallic sounds deep in the forest. Clink, clink, clink. Like chains moving slowly. Tyler smiled nervously. Probably animals. But the sound didn't feel natural. It sounded rhythmic, intentional. We kept driving. The deeper we went, the worse the atmosphere became. No animals, no insects, no headlights, nothing. Just endless dark forest. Then the radio turned on by itself. Static exploded through the speakers. Rachel jumped. Noah grabbed the dial immediately. "What the hell?" He switched it off. 2 seconds later, it came back on. Static again. Then faint whispering beneath it. Tyler reached for the volume. "Wait." The whispering slowly became clearer. Not one voice. Multiple voices overlapping each other. Murmuring, like people speaking underwater. Then one sentence emerged clearly from the noise. "Turn around." Noah switched the radio off again. This time it stayed silent. Nobody laughed anymore. We passed mile marker 7. Rain began falling hard enough to blur the windshield. The road narrowed sharply as mountains closed around us. Then Rachel suddenly grabbed my arm. "Stop the core." Tyler hit the brakes immediately. About 50 feet ahead stood a woman in the middle of the road, barefoot, wearing a long white nightgown soaked by rain. Her hair covered her face completely. She wasn't moving, Noah whispered. Nope. Tyler aimed the camera forward. Holy shit. The woman slowly tilted her head sideways. Too far sideways, like her neck bent incorrectly. Rachel sounded terrified. She's injured, but something felt deeply wrong. The woman hadn't reacted to headlights at all, hadn't shielded her eyes, hadn't moved, just stood there motionless in the rain. Then she spoke. Even from inside the SUV, we heard her clearly. Please help me. Tyler unlocked his door instantly. Rachel grabbed his arm hard. Don't. She needs help. Something's wrong with her. The woman took one slow step forward, still hiding her face. Please. Her voice sounded strange, not emotional, like someone imitating fear without understanding it. Then the radio turned on again. Static screamed through the speakers, and beneath it, Deputy Pike's voice whispered, "Don't let them inside." Every hair on my body stood up. The woman stopped moving. Slowly, very slowly. She lifted one hand toward her face and pulled her hair aside. Rachel screamed immediately. The woman had no eyes, only empty black holes filled with darkness deeper than the night around her. Then she smiled. Too wide, far too wide, and all the headlights died at once. Complete darkness swallowed the road. The darkness inside the SUV felt alive. Not normal darkness, not the kind your eyes adjust to. This was different, heavy, suffocating, like something was physically pressing against the windows from outside. Rachel was crying softly in the back seat. Noah kept turning the ignition repeatedly. The engine sputtered but refused to start. Tyler pointed the camera toward the windshield even though there was nothing visible anymore. Only blackness. Then came the sound. Tap. A single finger against glass. Nobody breathed. Tap. Tap. It moved slowly across the passenger side window, like someone dragging their nails over it. Rachel whispered, "Oh my God." Noah finally managed to start the engine. The headlights flickered weakly back on, and the woman was gone. The road ahead stood empty beneath the rain. Tyler immediately opened his door. "What are you doing?" I shouted. She couldn't have disappeared that fast. "Get back in the car." But Tyler was already outside. Rain poured over him instantly while he swung the camera around wildly. "Hello?" No answer. Only wind moving through pine trees. Noah cursed under his breath. "He's gonna get us killed." Tyler walked farther into the road, filming the forest. And then we heard it, a voice deep in the trees. Tyler. Soft. Almost impossible to hear. Tyler froze immediately. Rachel grabbed my arm hard enough to hurt. Walter's warning slammed back into my mind. If you hear someone, calling from the forest, do not answer. The voice came again, closer this time. Tyler. His face changed completely. Confusion. Shock. Emotion. "That's my mom." Noah stepped out halfway. "Ty, get back here right now." Tyler ignored him. He moved toward the trees slowly, like he was hypnotized. "Mom?" Rachel started panicking. No. The forest answered immediately. "Please help me." Tyler took another step, then another. The beam from his camera disappeared between the trees, and suddenly, everything became silent. Even the rain sounded quieter. No wind, no insects, nothing. Noah shouted. Tyler. No response. Then, from deep within the forest came the sound of footsteps running. Fast. Straight toward us. Branches snapping violently. Something huge moving between the trees. Noah backed toward the SUV instantly. "What the hell is that?" The footsteps became louder. Closer. Whatever it was moved unnaturally fast. Too fast. Rachel was sobbing now. Go. Then Tyler burst out of the darkness, screaming. He slammed into the SUV door so hard the entire vehicle shook. Drive. Noah hit the gas immediately. Tires screamed across wet asphalt while Tyler scrambled back inside. The moment the doors locked, something slammed into the rear of the SUV. Hard. Metal crunched loudly. Rachel screamed. I looked through the back window and saw nothing. No person. No animal. Only darkness chasing us between the trees. Tyler was hyperventilating violently. His face had gone completely pale. "What happened?" I shouted. He couldn't answer at first. Then finally, it knew things. "What?" The voice? Tyler looked like he was about to throw up. It sounded exactly like her. Noah kept speeding down the road. "What did you see?" Tyler stared forward blankly. At first I thought it was my mom standing between the trees. His breathing became shaky again. But then she smiled. Rachel whispered, "The woman on the road." Tyler slowly nodded. Then he said something none of us were ready to hear. It was wearing her face. We passed mile marker 11, the exact location from Deputy Pike's recording. And that was when the road changed. I don't know how else to explain it. The forest became denser somehow, the darkness deeper. Even the air looked strange beyond the headlights, like smoke moving across the asphalt. Noah slowed down. "Do you guys remember this curve?" None of us did. But we had definitely passed this section already. The broken guardrail, the dead deer near the ditch, the bent road sign. Rachel realized it first. "We're going in circles." Noah shook his head immediately. "That's impossible." But 10 minutes later, we passed the same dead deer again. This time, its body was missing its head. Nobody spoke. Tyler checked the GPS repeatedly. No signal, just a frozen screen. Same time from the diner clocks. Same time from Deputy Pike's tape time stomp. The digital clock inside the SUV flickered once, then changed by itself. Rachel whispered, "No." Then all 4 phones in the car vibrated simultaneously. Every single one. We stared at them in silence. Unknown number. 1 missed call. Same exact time. Tyler laughed nervously. This has to be somebody messing with us. Then his phone rang again. Loud, sharp, violent against the silence. Unknown caller. Noah immediately shouted, "Don't answer that." But Tyler already pressed accept. "Hello?" Static answered him. Heavy breathing. Then a voice. His own voice. Crying. "Tyler, please." Tyler's face drained of color. "What the fuck?" The voice continued sobbing through the phone. "It's underneath us." And then, screech. The call exploded into a sound so loud and distorted Rachel threw her headphones off instantly. Tyler dropped the phone. The screen cracked against the floor. And beneath the distortion, we heard screaming. Hundreds of people screaming together. Then the call disconnected. Silence returned. Noah whispered, "We need to leave this road now." Then the engine died. Completely. The SUV rolled slowly to a stop beside mile marker 11. Rain hammered the roof, but underneath it, another sound slowly emerged. Knocking. Soft at first. From beneath the vehicle. Knock. 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 Rachel covered her mouth. No, no, no. The knocking spread, moving under the SUV, passenger side, driver side, rear door, like multiple hands crawling beneath us. Knock. 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 Then came scratching, long fingernails dragging across metal directly below our feet. Tyler whispered, "There's something under the car." And then a child's voice spoke from directly beneath Rachel's seat. "Mama." Rachel screamed so loudly my ears rang. The voice started crying. Tiny, weak, cold. "Mama, please. It's dark." Noah looked genuinely terrified now. "That's not real. That's not real." Then the crying changed. Slowly, becoming deeper, older, wrong, until it no longer sounded human at all. The scratching beneath us suddenly stopped. Complete silence. And far ahead on the road, something stepped into the headlights. Tall, impossible tall, at least 8 feet high. Its arms hung almost to the ground. Its skin looked pale gray beneath the rain, and where its face should have been. There was only darkness, not shadow, not hidden features, an actual hole. A black void shaped like a human head. The thing stood motionless in the center of the road, watching us. Then all at once, dozens of figures appeared silently between the trees behind it. Human shapes, too many to count, standing perfectly still, one by one, their heads tilted sideways. And the thing in the road finally moved. It took one step toward the SUV, then another. Then it smiled. A smile opening vertically through the darkness where its face should have been. Nobody inside the SUV moved. Nobody even breathed. Rain hammered the windshield while the thing in the road kept walking toward us slowly. Its limbs bent incorrectly. Not like broken bones. Like it had learned how humans move by watching them from far away. Every step made a wet, cracking sound. Behind it, the figures between the trees remained perfectly still. Watching. Waiting. Rachel whispered through tears, "Please start the car." Noah twisted the key again. Nothing. Only dead clicking sounds. The tall thing stopped about 20 feet from the headlights. And suddenly, every figure in the forest smiled at the exact same time. Even from that distance. We could see their teeth. Too many teeth. Tyler shakily raised the camera. This is impossible. The thing tilted its head toward him sharply, like it understood the camera. Then its mouth opened wider, far wider than a human skull should allow. Inside was only darkness. No tongue, no throat, just endless black. And from somewhere deep inside that blackness, voices began speaking. Dozens of voices layered together. Men, women, children, all whispering at once. Open the door. Rachel started hyperventilating. Noah whispered, "Don't look at it." But I couldn't stop. Something about the creature pulled your attention toward it, like gravity. Then one of the figures near the trees stepped forward into the headlights, and my blood turned cold. It was Deputy Harold Pike, or what used to be him. Same police uniform, same face from the cassette tape photo Walter showed us earlier, but ruined. Skin pale gray, eyes completely black, water pouring from his mouth as if he had drowned. Tyler's camera shook violently. No way. Deputy Pike slowly lifted one arm, pointed directly at us, and whispered, "It wears people." The tall creature snapped its head toward him instantly, too fast, like a predator reacting to sound. Then Deputy Pike began screaming. Not fear, agony. His body folded backward violently before being dragged into darkness between the trees by something we never saw. The other figures remained still, me smiling, watching. Then the SUV lights died again. Total darkness. At first we heard only breathing, not ours. Something outside the vehicle breathing slowly beside the windows. Fog formed across the glass from the outside. Rachel was crying openly now. Noah grabbed a flashlight and pointed it shakily toward the windshield. The beam illuminated rain and a face inches from the glass. Rachel screamed so hard she lost her voice. It was Tyler's mother, or something pretending to be her. Her skin looked swollen and wet. Eyes black, smile too wide. She pressed one hand softly against the windshield. Then another face appeared beside hers. A little boy, missing his jaw. Then more faces. Men, women, children, all crowding silently around the SUV. Me smiling. Their palms pressed against every window. And together, they started knocking. Knock, knock, knock. Perfectly synchronized. Exactly like the tape. The entire SUV vibrated from it. Knock, knock, knock. The voices outside spoke together in one horrible chorus. Let us in. Tyler curled backward in his seat, covering his ears. They're not real. The knocking became louder. B-A-N-G. 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 Cracks spread slowly across the passenger window. Rachel screamed, "Do something." Noah suddenly slammed the steering wheel repeatedly. Come on. The engine exploded back to life instantly. Headlights returned, and every figure vanished. Gone. No movement, no footsteps. Nothing outside except rain and empty road. Noah hit the gas immediately. The SUV flew forward down hollow stretch while all of us shook silently. Nobody talked for almost 5 minutes. Then Tyler quietly said, "It knew my mom's name." No one answered. He stared at the floor. I never said her name out loud. The rain finally stopped. Fog replaced it almost immediately. Thick white fog swallowed the road ahead until visibility dropped to barely 20 feet. The deeper we drove, the stranger things became. Road signs repeated themselves. Mile marker 11 appeared 3 separate times. Trees looked identical, like the road itself was looping. Then Rachel noticed something horrifying. There are no tire tracks. Noah frowned. What? She pointed behind us. Mud covered both sides of the road from the storm. But despite driving for nearly an hour, there were no tracks behind the SUV. As if we weren't touching the ground anymore, Tyler whispered. We're not on the road. Nobody wanted to answer him. Then the fog ahead began moving, not drifting. Walking. Shapes formed slowly inside it. Human silhouettes crossing the road, one after another. Dozens of them. All moving silently from one side of the forest to the other. A procession, like a funeral march. Noah slowed the SUV. What are they doing? The figures ignored us completely. Each carried something in their arms. At first I thought they were bags. Then one silhouette stepped closer to the headlights. It was carrying a human body, wrapped in black plastic, its head hanging unnaturally. More figures crossed behind it, all carrying bodies. One of them suddenly stopped in the middle of the road, slowly turned toward us. And I realized with horror, it wasn't carrying a body. It was carrying another version of itself. Same face, same clothes, dead in its arms. The figure smiled, then continued walking into the fog. Rachel whispered, "What is this place?" Noah shook his head slowly. "I think we're already dead." Then Tyler noticed something on the side of the road. A crashed police cruiser, rust-covered most of it. Trees growing through the doors, like it had been abandoned for decades. But the red and blue lights were still flashing weakly. Inside the cruiser sat a skeleton wearing a sheriff's uniform. Its skull faced forward motionless, and hanging from its bony hand was a radio microphone. Static crackled faintly through it. Then the skeleton moved. Its head slowly turned toward us. The jaw opened, and Deputy Pike's voice came through the radio. "You shouldn't have stopped." The headlights exploded. Glass shattered outward. Darkness swallowed the road again, and somewhere inside the forest, something enormous screamed. The scream did not sound human. It sounded old, ancient, like metal twisting deep underground mixed with thousands of people crying together. The entire forest shook. Trees trembled violently while something massive moved somewhere beyond the darkness, closer than before. Much closer. Noah slammed the accelerator blindly. The SUV bounced violently over cracked asphalt while shattered glass from the headlights scattered across the dashboard. Now we had only one weak flashlight duct-taped near the windshield. Its pale beam barely reached 10 feet ahead. Tyler kept filming despite his shaking hands. "Keep recording," he whispered repeatedly to himself. "Keep recording." Rachel suddenly grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise it. "Do you smell that?" At first I smelled only wet earth. Then it hit me. Rotting meat. Not fresh death. Old death. The kind buried underground for years. The smell grew stronger every second. And then we heard it, a deep sound beneath the road. Thump. The SUV vibrated slightly. Thump. Again, slower this time, like a gigantic heartbeat under the asphalt. Noah looked horrified. No, no, no. Thump. Cracks spread across the road ahead. Tiny at first, then widening. The sound below us became louder. Thump. 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 Rachel covered her ears. "It's under us." Then the asphalt bulged upward. The entire road rose like something enormous was pushing against it from below. Noah swerved hard. The SUV barely missed a section of pavement that exploded upward in front of us. Dirt and broken asphalt flew through the air, and for one horrifying second, we saw what was underneath the road. Hands. Human hands. Hundreds of them. Pale fingers reaching upward through the broken earth. Moving. Clawing. Trying to escape. Rachel started screaming uncontrollably. Tyler zoomed the camera in. Oh my God. The hands weren't attached to bodies. They simply emerged from darkness beneath the asphalt itself, writhing together like worms. One hand suddenly grabbed the side of the SUV. Another hit the rear door. Then dozens more burst through cracks in the road behind us. The sound they made, wet skin scraping against stone, still makes me sick to think about. Noah floored the accelerator. The SUV fishtailed wildly before regaining control, but the heartbeat below us kept following. Thump, thump, thump. Faster now, hunting us. Then the forest disappeared. Without warning, 1 second there were trees. The next, nothing. The road opened into a massive empty field covered in thick fog. No mountains, no forest, just flat land stretching endlessly into darkness. And in the center of it stood a town, an entire town, silent, dead. Old wooden buildings, church steeple, all rotting beneath the fog. Tyler whispered, "What the hell is this?" It looked abandoned for at least 50 years, but lights glowed faintly inside some windows. Yellow, dim, moving. Rachel stared ahead in disbelief. That town isn't on any map. Noah slowed the SUV carefully. A rusted sign near the road leaned sideways in mud. Black Pine, population 417. Then beneath it, someone had carved another message by hand. We never left. Cold spread through my entire body. Because we had already driven through Black Pine earlier that day. This was impossible. The town looked much older, like we had somehow driven backward in time, or somewhere worse. The SUV rolled slowly into the streets. Fog drifted between buildings while old radios crackled faintly inside houses. Music from the 1950s echoed somewhere far away. Every storefront looked abandoned, except all the doors were open. Tyler kept filming through the windshield. "This isn't real." Then we saw the people, standing silently on porches, dozens of them. Men, women, children, all staring at the SUV, none moving, none blinking. Their clothes looked outdated. Ijo siling S. Ijo willing S. Some older. Their skin appeared pale gray beneath the fog, and every single one of them was smiling. Noah whispered, "Don't stop driving." A child standing near an old mailbox slowly raised one hand and waved at us. Half his face was missing. Rachel buried her face into her knees, sobbing. Then all the radios inside the town suddenly became louder at once. Static flooded the streets, and through that static, a voice spoke. Deep, ancient, coming from everywhere around us. "You came back." The town lights flickered. Every smiling face turned toward us simultaneously. And then all the people started walking. Slowly at first, stepping off porches, out of doorways, into the street. Toward the SUV, Noah hit the gas instantly. The crowd began moving faster, not running, gliding, their feet barely touching the ground, faces smiling wider and wider as they surrounded the vehicle. Hands slammed softly against the windows. More appeared ahead, blocking the road. Tyler shouted, "Left, left." Noah turned sharply down a narrow side street. The SUV nearly hit an old fire hydrant while fog swallowed us completely again. But through the white mist ahead, something enormous waited. The tall creature, the one with the dark hollow face. Only now we could finally see how big it truly was. It had to duck beneath power lines. Its body looked stretched unnaturally thin, wrapped in what seemed like human skin stitched together unevenly, and hanging beneath its arms, or faces. Dozens of human faces moving weakly under the skin like trapped people still alive inside it. The creature slowly pointed toward Tyler, and every face hanging from its body opened their mouths together. One voice came out, Tyler's voice. "You've left me outside." Tyler froze completely. "No." Then the creature began unfolding, its jaw splitting downward vertically through its chest, opening impossibly wide. Inside the darkness within it, we saw movement, hundreds of human arms reaching outward from inside its body. And the thing screamed, not loud, not angry, hungry. The sound shattered every remaining window in the SUV instantly. And from somewhere behind us, the entire dead town started screaming back. The scream didn't stop. It layered itself over everything. The town behind us, the road ahead, even the engine of the SUV seemed to vibrate in response, like it was trying not to break apart. Every shattered window frame trembled as if something invisible was still pressing against the glass. Noah drove blindly into the fog. Tyler was no longer speaking. He just held the camera with both hands, staring forward like he was waiting for something to finally make sense. Rachel kept whispering the same thing over and over. "This isn't real, this isn't real." But the fog didn't agree. It thickened around us like it was listening. Then the road ended. Not gradually, not with a turn. It simply stopped, as if someone had cut the world off with a knife. The SUV rolled to a slow halt on cracked stone. Ahead of us stood a house. One house, not part of the town, not connected to anything, just standing alone in the fog. It looked wrong immediately. Too clean compared to everything else. No decay, no rot. Just a perfectly normal suburban house. White walls, dark windows, a porch light softly glowing yellow. Noah whispered, "That wasn't here a second ago." Tyler zoomed the camera. The house flickered for a split second in the lens, like it wasn't stable, like it was struggling to exist. Rachel suddenly froze. "I've seen this place." We all turned to her. She looked confused, terrified of her own memory. "I've seen this in a dream." Silence fell instantly. Even the fog seemed to slow. Then the front door of the house opened, slowly, without sound, and someone stepped out. A woman, barefoot, hair wet like she had just come from rain. She looked directly at Rachel and smiled. Not wide, not unnatural, familiar. Rachel went completely still. "No." The woman raised a hand gently. "Rachel," she said softly. Rachel's voice broke. "That's not possible." The woman took one step forward onto the porch. "I told you you'd come back here," Tyler whispered without looking away from the camera. "She knows her name." Noah reached for the ignition again. "Still dead." The woman tilted her head. "You brought them with you." Rachel shook violently. "I don't know her." But the woman didn't react. Instead, she looked at the SUV, at all of us, and her smile faded slightly. "3 of you are already missing," she said calmly. Noah frowned. What are you talking about? The woman pointed behind us. Look, we didn't want to, but we did. The back seats were empty. Rachel's bag lay on the floor. Tyler's backpack was there, but the space between them was wrong, like someone had been sitting there a moment ago and simply stopped existing. Tyler slowly turned his head. There are 4 of us. Rachel started shaking harder. I'm right here. But when she looked down at her own hands, they were slightly transparent, not fully gone, not fully real, like a fading photograph. She screamed and grabbed her own arm. I can feel it. The woman on the porch sighed gently. You crossed the road too many times. Noah shouted. What road? The woman pointed toward the fog behind us, where the dead town was, where the forest had been, where mile marker 11 had repeated endlessly. That one, she said. Kyler lowered the camera slightly. Who are you? The woman looked at him. For the first time, her expression softened. I was the last one who left. Silence. Then she added, and I came back to make sure nobody else stayed. The porch light flickered. The house behind her shifted, just slightly, like it was breathing. Rachel suddenly whispered, This isn't a house. The woman nodded. No. It's what's left when everything else forgets itself. A deep thump echoed from beneath the ground again. Closer, now. The house windows darkened instantly. The woman stepped forward urgently. You don't have much time. Noah stepped out of the SUV for the first time. Time for what? The woman pointed at the fog behind us. Something followed you out of the road. Tyler raised the camera again. The fog behind us was no longer empty. Shapes were forming inside it. Slow, deliberate. The smiling town people, the tall creature, the faces inside its body. All of them were standing together now, watching. The woman's voice lowered. It doesn't stay in one place anymore, Rachel whispered. What does it want? The woman looked at her and answered without hesitation. You. The fog shifted violently. A sound like something enormous dragging itself across earth echoed from behind the house. The porch light flickered again. The woman grabbed Rachel's wrist. You have to choose now. Rachel shook her head. Choose what? The woman pointed at the house door. Stay here, then at the fog, or leave and keep running it with you. The thump under the ground became deafening. The house began shaking slightly. Tyler stepped forward. This doesn't make sense. The woman looked at him. It never does. Then she said something that made everything colder than the fog. This house only appears when something outside wants to replace what's inside you. Noah whispered. Replace? The woman nodded. Memories, names, faces, people. The fog behind us surged forward violently. The smiling town was getting closer. Much closer. The tall thing was now visible again, moving through everything. Unstoppable. The woman's grip tightened on Rachel's wrist. You decide now. Rachel looked at me. Then Noah. Then Tyler. And for a moment, she stopped crying. I don't want to disappear, she whispered. The house door creaked wider. Warm light spilled out from inside. Safe. Almost comforting. The fog screamed behind us. The creature stepped closer, and the woman said softly, Once you forget someone completely, the road keeps them. Rachel took one step toward the house, then stopped. Kyler lowered the camera for the first time, and I realized something terrible. None of us remembered what happened before the road anymore. Not clearly, not fully. Just fragments, like something had already started erasing us. The woman whispered, Choose before it finishes you. And then, from inside the house, a voice called out. My voice. Don't trust her. Everything stopped. Even the fog. Even the thump beneath the ground. The woman's smile disappeared instantly, and the house behind her began to crack like glass, because something inside it had just woken up. The moment the voice came from inside the house, everything felt like it stopped existing correctly. Not silence, not stillness, something worse. Like reality itself had paused mid-breath. My voice echoed again from inside the house. Don't trust her. Rachel stepped backward instantly. No, that's not. The woman on the porch didn't move, but her expression changed, slightly, like something underneath her face had just shifted position. Tyler slowly raised the camera again. The house was no longer stable in the lens. It flickered between versions of itself. New. Old. Burning. Empty. Full of people standing in rooms watching us. Noah whispered, Okay, this is officially impossible. Then the front door of the house opened wider, and I saw myself standing inside. Same clothes. Same face. But wrong. Not injured, not possessed, just slightly delayed, like it was reacting half a second after everything else. It looked directly at me and smiled. Rachel screamed, "That's not you." But I couldn't answer, because for a second, I remembered standing inside that house before we even arrived. Tyler dropped the camera slightly. "Danny, what is that?" The version of me inside the house tilted its head and spoke again. "You already chose." Noah grabbed my arm. "Get away from it." But the fog behind us surged forward violently. The smiling town people were now only a few meters away. Their footsteps synchronized. Soft. Wet. Wrong. The tall creature moved behind them all like a shadow stretched too far. Rachel suddenly froze again. Her body flickered, transparent again, fading faster now. "I can't feel my legs," she whispered. The woman on the porch finally spoke again, but her voice was no longer calm. "You brought something back with you." She pointed at Tyler. "You recorded it." Tyler looked confused. "I recorded everything." The woman shook her head sharply. "No, you recorded it looking back." The camera in Tyler's hands suddenly turned on by itself, even though he wasn't pressing anything. The screen lit up, and what we saw made him drop it instantly. Inside the recording wasn't what we had filmed. It was the inside of the SUV. Empty. No people. Just seats. And a radio repeating 2:17 a.m. over and over. Then the footage showed the car from outside, parked on Hollow Stretch Road, doors closed, windows fogged, and something standing beside it, I think, looking in, filming us, Tyler whispered. We were never the ones recording. The fog stopped moving. The town people stopped smiling. Even the creature paused. All of them turned their heads toward the camera lying on the ground, like they were listening to it, like it had just called their name. The version of me inside the house stepped forward and spoke softly. "Yo, let it see you." The woman on the porch suddenly backed away, for the first time, afraid. "No," she whispered. "Not that." Noah shouted. "What is that?" But no one answered, because the fog behind us began to split open, not like wind, like fabric tearing, and something new began to emerge. Not tall, not humanoid, not even shaped correctly, just an absence forming itself into something with intent. The light from the house flickered violently. Rachel grabbed my arm again. "I'm gone," she whispered. Her hand was now almost fully transparent. Only faint outlines remained. The woman turned to her quickly. "Inside now!" But Rachel didn't move. She was staring at something behind me, her lips trembling. "I remember you," she said softly. I turned slowly and saw it. Not the creature, not the town, not the house, but something standing inside the SUV, where the camera had been, a version of me sitting in the driver's seat, head turned, watching us, me smiling, and then it spoke through the broken windshield. "You're already inside," the real Tyler screamed. "No, that's impossible." But the SUV lights turned on by themselves, and slowly, the doors began closing. From the inside, Rachel tried to run toward the house, but her body flickered harder. Half of her was already gone. The woman grabbed her again. "Don't look at IT when IT finishes speaking." Too late. The thing inside the SUV tilted its head and finished the sentence. "You just haven't remembered yet." Everything collapsed into noise. The fog screamed. The house cracked open. The town rushed forward. The creature unfolded itself completely, and the world split, like a film burning backwards. And then, silence. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting in the SUV again, engine running, road empty, Tyler beside me, Rachel in the back seat, Noah driving, normal rain outside. No fog, no town, no forest, just Hollow Stretch Road at night. Tyler laughed nervously. "Dude, that was insane." Rachel exhaled sharply. "I had the worst dream." Noah shook his head. "Let's just get out of here." But something was wrong. The radio was on, static, and in it, a familiar voice whispered. Tyler turned it off immediately. "Okay, nope." We all laughed nervously, trying to convince ourselves. Then I noticed something on the dashboard. The camera, recording, red light blinking, even though none of us touched it. Tyler frowned. That wasn't on before. He reached for it. The screen turned on automatically, and we all saw the last frame of the recording. A road, empty, and 4 people walking away from a crashed SUV, except one of them stopped, turned around, and looked directly into the camera, me smiling. And in that moment, I realized we were still on Hollow Stretch Road, and we never left. Tyler didn't touch the camera. None of us did, but the recording kept running anyway. The red light blinked steadily in the dark SUV, like it was waiting. Outside, the rain had stopped again. That wasn't normal. Rain doesn't stop like a switch turning off. Noah slowed the car. Guys, look ahead. The road stretched forward into fog. Again, not thick like before, this time thin, almost polite, like something trying to pretend it was normal. Rachel stared at the dashboard. I feel like I've seen this already. Tyler let out a nervous laugh. Yeah, because we drove this road for like an hour. But I didn't answer, because I noticed something worse. The fuel gauge was going up, not down. The needle was slowly climbing back toward full. Noah noticed it too. That's not possible. The SUV engine made a soft clicking sound, like it was adjusting itself, like it was remembering how to work. Then the radio turned on by itself. Static. Then a voice underneath it. Come. Close. Don't stop driving. Tyler immediately reached to shut it off, but the dial didn't respond. It was stuck. The voice continued. You already stopped once, Rachel whispered. What does that mean? The radio hissed louder. Then another voice layered in. Her voice? Rachel's voice. I don't want to disappear. Rachel turned pale instantly. That's not me. But the radio didn't care. A third voice joined. Noah's voice. Angry. We were never on the road. Then my voice. Soft. Detached. You just haven't remembered yet. Tyler slammed the radio off with force. Silence returned instantly. Too instantly. Like something obeyed him too quickly. The SUV rolled forward through the fog. And that's when we saw it. The motel. Pine Rest Inn. Standing exactly where it shouldn't be. Same flickering neon sign. Same broken letters. Same emptiness around it. Rachel sat up sharply. No, we left that place hours ago. Noah stopped the SUV without meaning to. It just stopped responding. The engine stayed on, but the wheels didn't move. Tyler whispered. It's back. The motel door opened. Walter stood outside. Same cigarette. Same posture. Waiting, like he had never moved since we left. He raised a hand and waved us in. No emotion. No urgency. Just recognition. Rachel shook her head violently. No. But Walter spoke from outside the car, even though the windows were closed. You went farther than most. Tyler looked confused. Farther? Walter nodded slowly. Most don't make it past the first loop. Noah gripped the steering wheel. What loop? Walter exhaled smoke. You drove the road. Then he pointed behind us. We all turned and saw it. The road behind us was gone. Not blocked. Not broken. Gone entirely. Just empty fog where the world used to continue. Tyler whispered. We can't go back. Walter nodded again. Correct. Rachel started panicking. Then we go forward. Walter shook his head slightly. There is no forward either. Silence. Only the motel sign flickering behind him. Then Walter said something that made my stomach drop. You're not moving through the road. You're moving through what the road already took. The SUV dashboard suddenly flickered. The camera light turned on by itself again. Recording. Inside the screen, we saw ourselves inside the SUV. Exactly like now, but older, tired, worse. Driving, endlessly. Tyler backed away from the dashboard. No, that's not real. But Walter leaned closer to the window and whispered, You've been looping since mile marker 11. Rachel froze. That's where the police tape was. Walter nodded. That's where you started. Noah shook his head violently. That doesn't make sense. Walter pointed at the camera. It doesn't have to. The camera feed suddenly changed. Now it showed us standing outside the SUV. Watching it. Tyler holding the camera. Me standing next to him. Rachel and Noah behind us. And the SUV. Empty. Walter spoke softly. You're the ones outside the car. Silence hit like a physical force. Then the SUV horn blared. Once. Loud. Sudden. And every single version of us on the camera screen turned their heads toward us at the same exact time. Me smiling. Rachel screamed, Stop IT. But Walter stepped back into the motel doorway. You can choose now, Tyler shouted. Choose what? Walter pointed at two places. The motel and the fog behind us. Stay in what remembers you. Then toward the fog. Or keep moving forward until nothing does. The radio inside the SUV whispered again. This time, all four of us heard it clearly. Not as sound, as memory, like something inside our heads had already heard it before. Rachel grabbed my arm. I remember this happening already. Noah whispered. So do I. Tyler dropped the camera. It kept recording anyway. Walter's voice lowered. Then you understand. The fog behind us began to move again. Slowly. The town shapes returning. The tall thing returning. Everything returning. Like it had never stopped. Walter added quietly. It always comes back when you try to leave it behind. The motel lights flickered violently. The SUV engine suddenly shut off. Everything went silent. And then the radio clicked on one final time. A voice we hadn't heard yet spoke. Not static, not layered, not distorted. Just clear. Mine. Don't trust the ones who remember everything. And inside the motel doorway, Walter stopped smiling. Walter's expression didn't just change. It failed. Like something wearing him had forgotten how to pretend. For a few seconds, he stood in the motel doorway completely still. Cigarette frozen between his fingers, eyes locked on the SUV. Then he slowly said, "You shouldn't have heard that." My voice, inside the radio, still echoing faintly. Noah whispered, "Tell me that wasn't you." I couldn't answer, because I didn't know. The fog behind the SUV began to move again, but it wasn't random anymore. It was organized, like something remembering the shape of a town. Rachel stepped backward slowly. I don't feel my hands again. Her fingers were fading more than before. Not just transparent, now unstable, like her outline couldn't decide where to exist. Tyler picked up the camera again. It was still recording, even though no one was holding it. On the screen, we were still visible, standing outside the SUV, watching ourselves. Except now, the version of me on the screen turned slowly toward the camera and mouthed, "Don't listen to him." Walter stepped forward suddenly. Fast. Too fast. His cigarette dropped to the ground, still glowing. "No more talking," he said sharply. Noah backed away. "Okay, what is happening?" Walter pointed at me. "It's using you now." Then at Tyler. "It's been using him longer." Tyler laughed nervously. "That doesn't even make sense." Walter's voice dropped. "It doesn't need to." The fog behind him thickened again. And for the first time, it started forming shapes inside the motel lobby. Behind Walter, not outside, inside. Figures standing in the hallways. Me smiling. "Waiting," Rachel whispered. "They're here too." Walter didn't turn around. He already knew. They don't need roads anymore. The motel lights flickered violently. The neon sign outside buzzed loudly. Pine Rest In. Then one letter died. Then another. Until it read, "We rest in you." Tyler stumbled back. "Okay, nope, this is not happening." The camera screen suddenly switched again. Now it showed Walter standing inside the SUV with us. Me smiling. No cigarette. No motel behind him. Just fog. Rachel screamed. "He's inside the car." We all turned instantly. Walter was still in the doorway. But on the screen, he wasn't. Noah whispered, "Which one is real?" Walter answered immediately, "Neither." Silence. The fog surged forward again behind him. But now it wasn't just shapes. It was rooms forming inside it. Hallways, doors, windows that didn't belong anywhere. The town was rebuilding itself in the air. Walter finally stepped fully outside the motel. Slowly, carefully, like he was approaching something dangerous. "You're not supposed to split yet," he muttered. Tyler frowned. "Split what?" Walter pointed at all of us. "Your versions." Rachel froze. "Versions?" Walter nodded. "You're already more than one." The radio inside the SUV clicked on again, but this time, all four of us heard different things. Rachel heard crying. Noah heard screaming. Tyler heard his own voice laughing. I heard silence. Then, my voice again, clearer this time, closer. "You brought them through," Walter suddenly shouted. "Stop listening to Ait." But it was too late. The fog behind him collapsed inward, like reality folding, and something stepped out. Not the tall creature, not the town, something worse. A version of Walter. Older, stronger, smiling too calmly. It looked at the real Walter and said, "You always make it to this part." Walter stepped back. "No." The other Walter tilted its head. "But you never choose differently." Rachel grabbed my arm. "What is he talking about?" The real Walter looked at us for the first time with something like fear and said quietly, "I've done this before." Tyler went still. "What?" Walter pointed at the SUV. "You don't think you were the first group, do you?" Silence dropped like a weight. The other Walter behind him smiled wider. "You always bring four," Rachel whispered. "No." The real Walter shook his head slightly. "I tried stopping it." He looked at us. "I failed every time." The radio in the SUV suddenly played a memory we shouldn't have had. Our voices, laughing, driving, saying the exact same things we just said moments ago, but distorted, wrong, replayed, overlapping. Tyler dropped the camera again. It kept recording. The image on screen changed one last time. Now it showed the SUV from far above, like a map, like something watching a pattern repeat. And we were not moving. We were looping, standing in the same place. Again, and again, and again, Walter whispered. This is where it resets. Rachel shook violently. I don't want to reset. The other Walter stepped closer. It's not your choice. Then it pointed at me. It never was his either. The fog surged. The motel began collapsing inward. The SUV headlights turned on by themselves, and the radio spoke one final time. Begin cycle. Everything went white. And then we were back on Hollow Stretch Road. Rain falling. Engine running. Tyler laughing nervously. Rachel checking the back seat. Noah driving. And me staring at the dashboard camera. Recording. Red light blinking. Waiting. And on the radio, the moment I heard 2:17 a.m. again, I didn't react this time. That was the first difference. No panic. No confusion, just recognition, like my body already knew what came next. Tyler laughed in the passenger seat. Okay, so that's getting weird, right? Rachel turned around slowly. I feel like I had this conversation already. Noah kept his eyes on the road. Yeah, same. Silence followed immediately after that sentence, because none of us agreed on it, and we all remembered it differently. The SUV moved forward through Hollow Stretch Road like it was following instructions it had memorized before we were born. The rain wasn't heavy. It was controlled, measured, almost rhythmic. Tap, tap, tap. Not on the windows, on the roof. From the outside, Tyler stopped laughing. You hear that? Noah nodded. Yeah, Rachel whispered. It's above us. I looked at the rearview mirror and saw nothing, but the reflection didn't match. In the mirror, the back seat wasn't empty. Something was sitting there, not fully formed, not fully visible. Just a human outline that kept flickering in and out like a bad signal. It tilted its head slightly and smiled. Then it was gone. Noah hit the brakes instantly. The SUV stopped in the middle of the road. Engine still running, radio still on. Tyler turned slowly toward me. Okay, tell me you saw that too. I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure which that he meant. Rachel suddenly grabbed her head. I remember dying here. Silence. Noah looked at her sharply. What did you just say? Rachel's eyes widened. But then she stopped, mid-sentence, like something interrupted her thought. Then she calmly said, I don't remember saying that. Tyler leaned forward. Guys, I think we're overlapping again. Noah frowned. Overlapping what? Tyler pointed at the windshield. US. The fog ahead shifted. Slowly. Not forming shapes this time. Forming scenes. Like projections in the air. We saw ourselves driving. We saw ourselves that stopped. We saw ourselves standing outside the SUV. All happening at once in different layers of the road. Rachel whispered, This is multiple times. Then I saw it. At mile marker 11 ahead. The road split. Not into two paths. Into three. Then four. Then too many to count. All slightly different versions of the same road. Noah whispered, This wasn't here yesterday. Tyler shook his head. It wasn't here 5 minutes ago. The radio crackled violently. And then a voice spoke. Not mine. Not Tyler's. Not Rachel's. All of ours at once. You keep choosing wrong. Rachel turned pale. No, I don't want to hear that. The SUV began moving again without Noah pressing the gas. All four lanes of the road pulled closer together, like something trying to force them into a single line. Tyler shouted, Who's driving? No answer. But the steering wheel turned slightly on its own. Left, then right, then left again, like a hand we couldn't see was correcting our path. The fog thickened. And then we saw the motel again, Pine Rest Inn, standing exactly in the middle of the road this time. Impossible. No space around it. Just road leading directly into it. Noah stepped on the brakes hard, but the SUV didn't slow down. Rachel screamed, IT's not stopping. Kyler grabbed the wheel. It felt cold. Too cold. Like metal pulled from ice. The motel door opened. Walter stepped out again. Same cigarette. Same expression. But this time, he looked tired, like someone who had stopped counting how many times this had happened. He raised a hand slowly. Don't go in this time, he said. Silence. Noah shouted. What do you mean this time? Walter looked directly at me. You're remembering faster. My stomach dropped. Rachel whispered. What is he talking about? Walter exhaled smoke. Because he's the anchor. Tyler frowned. What anchor? Walter pointed at me again. The one who keeps stitching the loop back together? Everything stopped. Even the SUV. Even the rain. Even the radio. Silence so complete it felt physical. Rachel slowly turned to me. What? I couldn't speak. Because something inside me suddenly felt wrong. Not emotionally. Structurally. Like a missing piece I hadn't noticed until now. Walter stepped closer. You always notice first at this point, he said quietly. Noah shook his head. This is insane. Walter nodded. Yes. Then he added, and you always deny it here? Tyler backed away slightly. What happens next? Walter looked at the fog behind us. It decides whether you break or repeat. The fog moved again. But this time it didn't contain shapes. It contained us. Hundreds of versions of us standing in different positions along Hollow Stretch Road. All of them looking forward. All of them smiling. All of them frozen mid-action. Rachel whispered, We're already out there. Walter nodded slowly. Yes. Then he pointed at the SUV, and inside, Tyler went still. What? Walter's voice lowered. You don't move through the road. You copy yourself through it. Silence again. Then the radio clicked on. And for the first time, it played something new. Not voices. Not static. A countdown. Rachel screamed instantly. No, no, no. N-O. Noah tried the ignition. Nothing. Tyler dropped the camera. It stayed on. Still recording. Walter stepped backward. Now it starts choosing what stays. The versions of us in the fog began moving. Slowly at first, then faster, walking toward the SUV. Rachel grabbed my arm. I don't want to split again. The SUV windows darkened from the outside. All the versions outside of us stopped moving and turned toward me. Walter whispered, Anchor brakes now. Everything went black. And then I was standing outside the SUV, watching it drive away without me. The SUV didn't crash. It didn't swerve. It just continued down Hollow Stretch Road, as if nothing had changed. Inside it, I could still see them. Tyler turning around, confused. Rachel shouting something I couldn't hear. Noah gripping the wheel, scanning the road. And me, missing, standing in the middle of the road where I shouldn't exist anymore. The headlights shrank into the fog, until they were gone. Silence returned, but it wasn't peaceful. It was selective, like the world was deciding what sound I was allowed to hear. Then a voice spoke behind me. Come. Familiar. My voice. You always look at it from here. I turned slowly. Walter stood a few feet away. Same cigarette. Same tired expression. But now he looked closer. Not like a motel clerk anymore. Like someone who had been here far too long. I stepped back instinctively. What did you do? Walter exhaled smoke. I didn't do anything. A pause. Not this time. The fog behind him shifted. And I saw them. Not versions of me, not versions of the SUV, but entire scenes. The road repeating like stacked memories. Me stepping out of the car. Me never entering the car. Me already gone before the trip began. Me watching myself from the trees. All happening at once. Walter pointed at them. That's what you are now. I shook my head. No, I was inside the SUV. Walter nodded slowly. And you still are. Silence. The contradiction hit like nausea. Then he added, You're just not inside the same one anymore. The fog moved closer. But instead of advancing toward me, it passed through me, like I wasn't solid enough to resist it. Walter watched carefully. You're separating properly now. I looked down at my hands. They weren't stable. Not fully gone. Not fully present. Like I was being rendered in and out of existence in slow pulses. Why is this happening? I asked. Walter didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pointed at the road behind me. The SUV was gone. But the tire tracks remained, dozens of them, overlapping, conflicting, all slightly different directions. You made too many passes through the same moment, he said. And now the road doesn't know which one is real. A low thump echoed under the ground. Closer. Louder. Walter looked up sharply. It noticed the split. The fog behind us thickened violently. And then I saw it again. The tall thing. Not walking this time. Standing still, like it was listening. Its hollow face turned directly toward me, even from far away. Walter spoke faster now. You need to pick a version. I frowned. What does that mean? He stepped closer. If you don't choose which one of you continues. The thump intensified. The road will. The creature in the fog began moving again. Slow. Deliberate. Not toward the SUV. Toward me. Walter suddenly grabbed my shoulder. This is the point where most of you disappear. My mind raced. I don't understand any of this. Walter's grip tightened. You will. A sudden flash. And I saw it. Not as a memory, as a truth I hadn't been allowed to access before. Me, standing outside the SUV and watching it drive away. But behind me, another me, and another, all slightly out of sync. All making different choices at the exact same moment. Walter's voice cut through it. You're not one person in this loop. You're all possible outcomes collapsing at once. My stomach dropped. No. The fog surged again, and this time it spoke. Not in voices, in certainty. Choose. The word wasn't heard. It was felt across every version of me. Walter stepped back. If you don't decide now, it decides for you. The tall creature stepped closer. The road cracked beneath it. And suddenly, I understood the choice wasn't about survival. It was about continuation. Every version of me was being pulled toward different endings. SUV, forest, motel, fog, nothing. Walter looked at me one last time. This is where you either become one or stay many. The creature raised its hand, and all versions of me in the fog turned toward it at once. Waiting. And I realized something terrifying. I didn't know which one was me anymore. And then everything split again. The moment everything split again, it didn't feel like movement. It felt like deletion. Not pain, not force, just a quiet removal of continuity. 1 second I was standing on hollow stretch road. The next I was everywhere I had just been, and nowhere at all. I saw the SUV, still moving, still occupied. Tyler gripping the camera, Rachel half faded in the back seat. Noah driving like his body was remembering how, and me, sitting in the passenger seat again. But also outside the car, watching it, and also behind it, and also under it, all at once. Walter's voice echoed through the splits of me. You're separating too fast. The tall creature in the fog stopped moving. Its hollow face turned not toward one version of me, but toward all of them at once. The road thumped again, harder, like something beneath it was trying to rise in response. The asphalt cracked in long lines stretching across every version of the road I could see. Then the radio and the SUV screamed to life. Not static, not voices. A single sentence repeated across all timelines. Reconsolidate or be taken. Rachel inside the SUV began screaming, but her voice didn't match across versions. In one, she was terrified. In another, calm. In another, already silent. In one version of me, I turned toward her. In another, I never looked. Walter appeared beside the road again. Or maybe beside me. Or maybe inside me. It was getting harder to tell. He spoke urgently now. You're about to collapse. I shook my head. I don't know how to stop it. Walter pointed at the creature. You stop it by choosing which version is allowed to continue. The fog behind him twisted violently. And I saw them. All of us. Every version of me scattered across hollow stretch road. Some walking into the forest. Some inside the SUV. Some standing in the motel hallway. Some already gone. And all of them were being pulled toward the same center point. The creature. The road beneath it cracked open wider. And I saw something beneath it again. Not hands this time. A structure, like a tunnel system built from bone and asphalt and memory. A place that was not underground. But beneath everything that had already happened, Walter's voice softened. This is where it stores what doesn't resolve. The creature raised both arms, and the road responded. All versions of me jerked forward at once, like gravity had been inverted. Rachel's voice inside the SUV suddenly cut through everything. Daniel. That name hit differently this time. Not just sound, anchoring. For a fraction of a second, all versions of me aligned. The SUV, the road, the fog, the motel, the creature. Everything froze into a single moment. Walter noticed immediately. That's your anchor word. Tyler inside the SUV shouted, What's happening? Noah gripped the wheel tighter. I can't move it. The creature stepped closer. And for the first time, its hollow face didn't feel empty. It felt expectant, waiting, like it had done this many times before. Walter shouted, Now, choose one version. But I didn't know how, because every version of me felt equally real, equally wrong. And then the road beneath all of us thumped one final time, so loud it split the fog apart, and I saw the truth underneath it. Every version of me wasn't just being observed, they were being tested. The road wasn't trapping us, it was sorting us. And the creature wasn't hunting, it was selecting. Walter's voice dropped. If you don't decide, it chooses the strongest version. I looked at the SUV. Inside it, I saw myself turn toward the camera, me smiling, but not at them, at me. And I realized something that made everything colder than the fog. That version had already accepted the road. The creature raised its hand toward that version, and the fog responded instantly. All other versions of me began fading, being pulled inward, collapsing toward that single point. Rachel screamed again. "No, don't let it pick you like that," Tyler shouted. "Do something," Walter said quietly. "This is where you stop being many." The creature's hand closed, or become what the road remembers. And then I chose, not with thought, not with logic, but with instinct, and everything snapped. The snap wasn't sound. It was selection, like reality finally deciding which version of me was allowed to continue existing. For a moment, everything went perfectly still. No fog movement, no engine noise, no radio static, no heartbeat under the road. Just silence so complete it felt like the world had been muted. Then, I was in the SUV, fully, not split, not duplicated, not watching from outside, inside. Rachel was in the back seat, gasping like she had just been pulled out of water. Tyler still held the camera, but his hands were steady now, almost calm. Noah was driving, eyes fixed forward like he'd never looked away. Everything looked normal, too normal, like nothing had ever happened before this moment. The radio clicked softly, then displayed. Noah exhaled slowly. "We're back on it again." Tyler frowned. No, this feels different," Rachel whispered. "I remember this, but not exactly." I looked down at my hands. They were solid, stable, but there was a faint sensation under my skin, like something else had just been removed from me. Not pain, just absence. The road ahead stretched straight. No motel, no fog, no town. Just hollow stretch road and quiet rain. Tyler pointed the camera forward. "Okay, we keep going, right? We just keep going until we're out." Nobody answered immediately, because none of us were sure what out meant anymore. Then the radio crackled once, and Walter's voice came through. "Come, close," almost inside the cabin. "Good." Noah slammed the radio dial, but it didn't turn off. Walter continued. "You chose correctly." Rachel's face went pale. "Why is he still here?" Tyler whispered. "He's not in the radio." I stared at the dashboard. The camera light was on again. Recording. Always recording. Walter's voice softened slightly. "This is the clean layer." Noah frowned. "What does that mean?" Walter replied. "This is the version that gets remembered." Silence. The SUV continued forward, but the road began subtly changing, almost unnoticeable at first. The trees looked healthier, the asphalt smoother, the fog gone completely. Then Tyler noticed something. "There's no mile markers anymore." Rachel leaned forward. "Is that good or bad?" I didn't answer, because I saw something worse. The rearview mirror. It was empty. No cars behind us, no road behind us, just darkness, as if we were the only moving thing in existence. Then, the radio clicked again, but this time it wasn't Walter. It was the voice from before. My voice, but calm, controlled. "You didn't leave," Noah whispered. "What?" The voice continued. "You stabilized the version that stays inside the road." Tyler turned the camera slightly toward me. "Dude, what is that supposed to mean?" I felt something cold in my chest. Not fear, recognition. The road ahead subtly curved. Not physically, conceptually. Rachel suddenly grabbed my arm. "Your hands." I looked down. My fingers were flickering again. Slightly. Not disappearing. Not fully stable. The voice returned. "Closer." "You didn't escape the loop. You became the one that holds it." The SUV slowed without Noah touching the brakes. Tyler's camera screen flickered. And for a split second, I saw it again. Not the road, not the SUV, but the system beneath it. Layers, stacks, versions, loops inside loops. And in the center, me, holding everything in place without realizing it. Rachel whispered, "This isn't over." Noah shook his head. "No, it feels like it ended." But Tyler slowly said, or like it just got quieter. The radio gave one final click. Walter's voice returned, but distant now. "Don't worry." A pause. Then, "This is the part where you forget enough to keep going." The SUV continued forward. The road stayed straight. And behind us, for the first time, there was nothing at all. No fog, no town, no creature, no motel, just empty silence. Kyler lowered the camera slightly. "So we're safe now?" Nobody answered. Because deep down, none of us believed in safe anymore. Only continuation. And somewhere far beneath the road, something that had been waiting for a long time stopped thumping. The silence after the thump stopped wasn't relief. It was absence of correction, like something underneath us had stopped checking whether reality was aligned. The SUV kept moving forward through the empty road. No trees changed, no signs appeared, no fog returned. Just endless asphalt stretching into a horizon that never got closer. Tyler broke the silence first. So we're done, right? No one answered immediately, because the word done didn't feel like it belonged anywhere near this place. Rachel stared out the window. I feel lighter. That should have sounded good, but she said it like something had been removed without permission. Noah kept his eyes forward. The radio's quiet. It was too quiet. Even the static was gone. Tyler lifted the camera again. The recording light was still on, but the screen showed something strange. It wasn't us anymore. It was the SUV driving itself down an empty road. No driver, no passengers, just movement. He frowned. Okay, this is no. I looked at the mirror. Nothing behind us, but I felt something watching anyway. Not from behind, from inside the direction we were going. The road ahead subtly brightened. Not sunlight, more like memory trying to imitate daylight. Then Rachel spoke softly. Do you guys remember how we got here? Silence. Noah answered carefully. We drove in. Tyler nodded. Yeah, we came for the documentary. I said nothing, because I was trying to remember the exact moment that became true, and I couldn't find it. It wasn't missing. It was never placed. The SUV passed a road sign. Clean, new, metal still shining. Black Pine County, 12 miles. Tyler blinked. That wasn't there before. Noah slowed slightly. Maybe we're finally getting out. But Rachel shook her head. No, this feels like when it starts over. That sentence landed wrong, like she had said it before, but couldn't prove when. The radio clicked once, then turned itself on. Not static, not voices, just a tone. Steady, measured, like a heartbeat pretending to be technology. Then Walter spoke again, but different, less human, more structured. You are inside the stabilized loop. Tyler frowned. What does stabilized mean? Walter answered. It means you stopped breaking it. Silence filled the SUV instantly. Rachel whispered. Stopped breaking it? Walter continued calmly. Before you, the loop fractured. A pause. Now it holds. Noah tightened his grip on the wheel. Hold what? Walter didn't answer immediately. Instead, the road ahead began to change again. Subtly. The horizon moved closer. The landscape began to form edges. Mountains, trees, a sky, but all slightly wrong. Like someone rebuilding reality from memory instead of truth. Tyler pointed forward. Guys, look at that. A town appeared ahead, slowly emerging from the horizon. Not Black Pine. Something newer, cleaner, too perfect. Buildings aligned too neatly. Lights already on despite no visible power source. Rachel's voice dropped. I've seen that place. Noah frowned. No, you haven't. Rachel shook her head. I think I have. I stared at the town and felt something tighten in my chest. Recognition without memory. The SUV slowed on its own. Walter's voice came again. This is your continuation point. Tyler swallowed. What does that mean? Walter replied. It means you arrived somewhere the loop accepts. Rachel whispered. Accepts? The town grew closer. And I noticed something worse. The road behind us was gone again. Not blocked. Not fading. Simply erased. As if it had never existed past this point. Tyler lowered the camera slightly. So, we just go in? Silence. Noah finally said, I don't like this. Walter answered softly. You were never meant to like it. The SUV rolled forward, toward the town, toward the lights, toward the quiet perfection waiting ahead. Rachel leaned back slowly. I feel like I'm forgetting something important. Tyler nodded. Same. I looked at my hands. Stable again. Too stable. Like they had settled into a final version. The radio clicked off by itself. Walter's voice faded. And for the first time in the entire journey, nothing tried to stop us. No screams. No fog. No THUMP beneath the earth. Just calm. As we crossed the threshold into the town, a single thought formed in my mind. Not spoken. Not heard. Just understood. This is what happens when the road finishes choosing, and we were no longer being watched. We were being recorded into place. The SUV crossed into the town without a sound. No bump, no change in air pressure, no moment of arrival. Just one frame of reality replacing another. And suddenly, we were inside. The streets were clean. Too clean. Not abandoned, not alive either. Just maintained, like someone had built it recently and was still deciding what kind of place it should be. The sign above the main road read, "Black Pine, welcome home." Noah slowed the car. Home? Rachel stared at it. "I don't live here." Tyler gave a nervous laugh. "None of us do." But even as he said it, I noticed something unsettling. We all looked uncertain about that statement. Like the answer had been edited out of us. The SUV rolled forward automatically. Noah wasn't pressing the gas. Tyler wasn't filming anymore. The camera rested on his lap, still recording. Red light steady. Always steady. The streets were empty but not abandoned. Doors were open. Lights were on inside every house. Televisions flickered in living rooms showing static white images. No sound. Just glow. Rachel leaned forward. "I feel like I've walked here before." Noah frowned. "No, you haven't." But he didn't sound sure. That was the problem now. Nothing sounded sure anymore. The SUV passed a small diner. The sign outside read, "Open 24 hours, we've been waiting." Tyler whispered. "That's normal." The road curved slightly and brought us into the center of the town. A square, a fountain in the middle, water flowing upward instead of down. And around it, people, dozens of them, standing still, all facing inward, not moving, not speaking, just waiting. Rachel grabbed my arm. "Do you recognize them?" I looked closer. My stomach dropped slightly. Some of them felt familiar. Not faces I remembered, but faces I should have remembered. Noah slowed the SUV to a stop. The engine didn't turn off. It just paused. The crowd didn't move. Then one of them stepped forward, a man in a plain coat. He looked directly at us and smiled. Not wide, not unnatural, familiar. He raised a hand slowly and said, "Welcome back." Silence. Tyler leaned toward the windshield. "Back?" The man nodded. "You always come back here." Rachel shook her head. "No, we don't." But even as she said it, her voice didn't carry certainty. The man looked at her gently. "You do, just not in the same order." That sentence hit wrong, like it bypassed understanding and went straight into memory. The crowd around the fountain began turning their heads toward us, one by one, slowly. Not in sync, but in agreement. Noah whispered, "I don't like how they're looking at us." The man stepped closer. "Because you remember it differently this time." Tyler frowned. "Remember what?" The man's smile stayed calm. "The first arrival," Rachel whispered. "First?" The man nodded. "You always arrive here eventually." A pause. "Even when you think you escaped." The crowd shifted slightly, not moving forward, just acknowledging, like they were confirming something. I looked at them again, and suddenly, for a fraction of a second, I saw another version of this moment. Same town, same fountain, but the SUV was already parked, and we were already standing outside it, listening, waiting. Noah spoke slowly. "This has happened before." The man nodded again. "Yes." Tyler's voice cracked slightly. "How many times?" The man tilted his head. "Enough for the town to recognize you," Rachel whispered. "I don't remember any of this." The man's expression softened. "That's because you weren't the one who survived it last time." Silence dropped instantly. Noah turned sharply. "What does that mean?" The man looked at all of us and answered quietly, "It means you aren't the same group that started the trip." The crowd behind him began to step closer now. Not aggressively, just inevitably, like something was settling into place. Tyler backed away slightly in his seat. "Okay, that's not possible." But I felt something in my chest tighten again, because part of me understood it. Not logically, but instinctively. The man stepped closer to the SUV. "You made it further this cycle," Rachel whispered. "Cycle?" He nodded. "Yes." Then he looked directly at me and said something that made everything colder than the fog ever did. "You're the one that usually breaks first." The radio inside the SUV clicked once. Walter's voice returned, but weaker now. "Don't engage the recognition layer." Tyler blinked. "What does that mean?" But Walter didn't answer. The man in the street raised his hand again and pointed gently at me. "You're remembering too much this time." The crowd behind him stopped moving completely, all at once, like they were listening, waiting for permission. Rachel whispered, "What happens if he remembers everything?" The man smiled again, but this time it wasn't friendly. It was final. "Then the town stops needing the rest of you." The fountain behind him suddenly reversed its flow, water rising higher, higher. until it formed shapes in the air. And for the first time since we arrived, the town made a sound. Not voices, not wind, a collective inhale, like it was preparing to do something it had done before. Noah whispered, "We should leave." But the SUV didn't move. Tyler tried the door. Locked. Rachel turned to me slowly. "Why do I feel like you're supposed to decide something again?" And the man in the street smiled one last time. "You already did." The crowd stepped forward in perfect unison. And the town finally remembered who we were. The moment the town remembered, it didn't feel like discovery. It felt like correction. Every light in Black Pine flickered once at the exact same time. Not randomly, synchronized, like the town had just finished loading the correct version of reality. The crowd didn't rush us. They didn't need to. They were already arriving where we were. Noah tried the ignition again. The SUV responded instantly, too instantly, like it had been waiting for that exact input. Tyler whispered, "Okay, we need to go, now." But the car didn't move when Noah pressed the gas. It waited, like it was receiving instructions from something else. Rachel pressed her forehead against the glass. I can hear them thinking. Noah frowned. "What?" She looked terrified. "It's not voices, it's like agreement." The man in the coat stepped closer. The crowd behind him spread out slowly, forming a wide circle around the SUV, not blocking us, containing us. The man spoke calmly. "You don't need to panic." Tyler laughed nervously. "That's exactly when you do panic." The man nodded slightly. "Yes." A pause. "But not for the reason you think." Silence. The radio clicked on again by itself. Walter's voice returned, but fragmented. "Don't let them classify you," Tyler snapped. "Classify? What does that even mean?" But Walter didn't finish. The signal broke. The man outside the car raised his hand slightly, and the town responded. Every single person in the circle turned their head at the same angle, perfectly aligned. Rachel whispered, "This feels rehearsed." Noah nodded slowly. "Because it is." The man looked directly at me again. "You're stabilizing too quickly." I frowned. "What does that mean?" He tilted his head. "It means your version is becoming easier to track." Tyler looked between us. "Why is everything about him now?" The man answered without hesitation. "Because he is the reference point." Silence. That word hit differently. Reference point. Like I wasn't a person. Like I was a coordinate. Rachel slowly turned toward me. "Is that true?" I didn't answer immediately, because something inside me felt heavy, not emotional. Structural, like a weight tied to the idea of being me. The man stepped closer. "You're the reason the loop holds shape." Noah tightened his grip on the wheel. "Stop talking in riddles." The man looked at him. "This isn't a riddle." Then he added, "It's a measurement." The crowd around us shifted again. Not closer, just tighter, the circle shrinking by perception alone. Tyler whispered, "I don't like that word. Measurement." The man nodded. "Because it means you are being compared." Rachel suddenly grabbed her head. "I remember this part." We all turned. She looked confused. "I don't know how I remember it, but I do." The man smiled faintly. "Good." A pause. "That means you're sinking." The SUV dashboard flickered. The camera light turned on again. Recording. Always recording. But now the screen showed something new. Not us. Not the town. A grid. And inside it, multiple versions of the same moment playing at once. Different outcomes of this exact conversation. Different endings. Tyler leaned forward. "Are we watching ourselves?" The man nodded. "Yes." Then he added, "All possible responses." Noah whispered, "So this already happened before." The man corrected him. "No. You are happening inside it." The crowd suddenly took one synchronized step forward. No sound, just motion. Rachel grabbed my arm again. "This is where it changes again, isn't it?" The man looked at me, and for the first time his voice softened. "This is where you usually break into the wrong version." Silence. Tyler looked panicked now. "What does that even mean?" The man raised a hand slightly, and the crowd stopped instantly. Then he said, "You have 2 remaining stable outputs." Noah shook his head. "I'm done with this outputs talk." The man ignored him. "One where you stay and stabilize the town." A pause. "And one where you reject the classification." Rachel whispered, "What happens if we reject it?" The man looked at her and answered simply, "Then you stop being recorded correctly." The radio suddenly screamed static. Walter's voice broke through one last time. "Don't let him define your role." Then it cut. The town lights flickered violently. The man lowered his hand slowly and said, "Choose now." The circle tightened. The SUV engine hummed louder, like it was preparing. Tyler looked at me. Why are you supposed to choose? Rachel was shaking. I don't want to be classified, Noah whispered. Just pick something. The man waited, patient, certain, and for the first time, I understood something terrifying. There was no escape version. There was only which version of the story continued with me inside it, and the town was waiting for me to finalize the shape. The town didn't move. It didn't need to. Everything already felt like it was leaning toward a decision that had been made before we understood the question. The circle of people around the SUV stayed perfectly still, waiting, not impatient, just certain. The man in the coat looked at me directly. Choose. No pressure in his voice. That was the worst part. Like he already knew what I would do. Tyler leaned forward, whispering fast. Dude, whatever this is, don't play along with it. Rachel shook her head. I don't think there is a don't play along option. Noah kept his eyes on the road. I just want the car to move. The engine hummed again, softly, like it was listening. The radio clicked. Walter's voice came back, but broken, overlapping itself. You're already inside the decision layer. Don't accept the frame. Stabilizing you. Then static swallowed him again. The man outside raised one hand slightly, and the crowd responded by taking one synchronized step forward. Closer, not rushing, just inevitable. The SUV windows began to fog from the inside, not from breath, from something else. Like the air itself was thickening with attention. Rachel whispered, I feel like I'm being looked at from the inside. Tyler frowned. That doesn't even make sense. But no one laughed. Because it did make sense here. The man spoke again. You are currently in the selection threshold. Noah snapped. Stop saying that like it means anything. The man nodded calmly. It means you still have overlap. A pause. That will end soon. The SUV dashboard flickered again. The camera display turned on by itself. This time it showed something new. Not alternate versions, not timelines, just us sitting in the SUV. But the camera angle was wrong. It was positioned outside the car, filming inward. Rachel leaned closer. That's not possible, Tyler whispered. We're being recorded from the outside. The man nodded slightly. Yes. Then he added, You always are at this point. Silence dropped. Noah finally turned his head. Always? The man stepped closer to the SUV. His voice stayed calm. This is the part where you decide whether you remain participants, a pause, or become observation. Tyler shook his head. I don't want to be either of those things. Rachel suddenly grabbed my arm tighter. I think I've heard that before. That made everything colder, because she didn't say it like memory. She said it like recognition. The man looked at me again. You are the stabilizing agent. Noah frowned. What does that even mean? The man answered. When you choose, the rest of them align. Tyler turned sharply. Why him again? The man didn't look at Tyler. He kept looking at me. Because you are the last variable that still changes outcomes. The circle around us tightened slightly again. No footsteps. Just spatial adjustment, like reality compressing. The SUV creaked softly. Rachel whispered, I don't think we're supposed to leave this part. Noah shook his head. We are leaving. But even he didn't sound convinced. The man raised his hand again. The crowd stopped moving. Instantly. Perfect obedience. Then he said, You will choose incorrectly. Silence. Tyler blinked. What? The man clarified. You always do. A pause. But that is acceptable. Rachel looked terrified now. Acceptable for who? The man smiled slightly. For the structure. The radio suddenly flickered again. Walter's voice returned, but this time it was calm. Too calm. He's already choosing. Don't resist the selection. It will hurt less if you align. Tyler shouted. That's not helping. The signal cut again. The town lights dimmed slightly. The man stepped closer to the SUV door. You are not deciding between freedom and captivity. A pause. You are deciding what version of captivity continues. That sentence landed wrong. Not like a threat. Like a rule, Rachel whispered. That means neither option is free. The man nodded. Correct. Noah exhaled sharply. So what's the point? The man answered simply. To maintain continuity. Silence again. The circle around us tightened just a little more. The SUV engine idled louder. Like anticipation, Tyler looked at me. Man, just pick something. Anything. Rachel shook her head. I don't think it matters what he picks. The man spoke softly. It does. A pause. Just not to you in the way you think. Everything became still. Even the air. Even the fog that wasn't there. Even the idea of movement. The man looked at me one last time. Say it. And in that moment, I understood that the choice wasn't about what I wanted. It was about what reality would allow me to remain as. And for the first time, I spoke. I didn't feel brave when I spoke. I didn't feel chosen. It was more like something in me finally stopped resisting pressure that had been building since mile marker 11. I looked at the man in the coat, then at the crowd, then at the SUV Tyler gripping the camera, Rachel shaking, Noah frozen at the wheel. And I said the only thing that didn't feel like it belonged to any version of me. I don't accept either outcome. Silence hit the town instantly. Not shock, not confusion, more like recalculation. The man in the coat didn't react immediately, but the air around him tightened, subtly, like reality had just been asked a question it didn't have in its system. Tyler whispered, "Was that allowed?" Rachel stared at me. "I feel weird." Noah blinked. The car just turned itself on, and it had. The engine idled, steady and low, like it had been waiting for permission that didn't match any preset instruction. The radio clicked. Walter's voice tried to come through but broke immediately. "No, this isn't." Static swallowed him. The man in the coat finally spoke, quietly. "That is not a valid branch." A pause. The crowd around us shifted. Not forward, not back, just uncertain. For the first time, Tyler frowned. "Wait, did we break it?" Rachel whispered. "I don't think we were supposed to say something new." The man stepped closer to the SUV, and now his calmness had changed. Not fear, but correction pressure. "You are outside the decision framework." Noah frowned. "What does that mean?" The man answered. "It means the system cannot classify your response." The radio suddenly screamed static again, but this time it wasn't layered voices. It was a single repeating tone. Wrong. Glitching, like something failing to render sound correctly. The town lights flickered violently. Once, twice, then held. The crowd around us didn't move, but their expressions changed. Not emotion, adjustment, like their faces were updating in real time. Rachel grabbed my arm hard. "I don't like this part." Tyler stared at the camera. "It's still recording, but nothing's happening on it." He turned it toward me. The screen showed something impossible. Not the SUV, not the town, not even the loop grid from before. Just a black screen with one word forming slowly. "Undefined." Noah whispered. "That's not good." The man in the coat looked at the screen, and for the first time he hesitated, a fraction of a second, but it was enough. The crowd reacted, not physically, but collectively, like something inside them all had just been told to pause. Then the man said quietly, "You are destabilizing the archive." Tyler blinked. "The what?" The man didn't answer him. He kept looking at me. "You are introducing outcomes that do not exist in stored memory," Rachel whispered. "So what happens now?" The man's expression changed again. Not fear, but inevitability. Now the system corrects by force. The town lights went out instantly. Not flickering, not dimming, just gone. Complete darkness swallowed everything outside the SUV. Tyler shouted, "Nitrogen monoxide, what is that?" Noah tried the headlights. Nothing. Rachel was breathing too fast. "I can't see anything." Then, from the darkness outside the car, something spoke. Not Walter, not the man, not any voice we had heard before. A new one, layerless, clean. "It cannot be classified." Silence. Even the engine felt quieter. The man in the coat stepped back slightly. For the first time, the crowd behind him shifted, uneasy. Then the voice spoke again. Closer. "It cannot be looped." The SUV windows began to frost from the inside. Rachel whispered, "It's inside the car." Tyler shook his head. No, this is outside voice stuff." But the frost spread anyway. Not random, directional, like it was forming boundaries. Noah whispered, "I think it's drawing something." The man in the coat looked at me again, but now his certainty was gone. "You did not select a valid continuation." The voice from the darkness spoke again. "Come. Final." Then the system releases containment. The SUV shook violently, not from impact, from structural failure in reality. Tyler dropped the camera. This time it didn't keep recording. It shut off. Instantly, Rachel screamed, "I can't feel my hands again." Her arm was fading, but differently now, not disappearing, becoming unassigned. Noah shouted, "Drive. Just drive." But the SUV didn't respond. The man in the coat whispered, "You broke the selection cycle." And then the darkness outside opened. Not like a door, not like fog, like something deciding to stop pretending space was continuous. And something looked in. Not the creature, not Walter, not anything we had seen before, just absence shaped like attention. And it said one final thing. Reset not found. Everything collapsed. Not into black, not into white, into unwritten space. And then, quietly, I woke up, sitting in the SUV, engine running, Tyler laughing nervously, Rachel checking the back seat, Noah driving, radio displaying, and the road ahead, waiting. At first, nobody spoke, because speaking felt like it might confirm something we weren't ready to confirm. Tyler gave a short laugh. Okay, that was the weirdest dream ever. Rachel didn't laugh back. She kept staring at her hands. I still feel like I was fading. Noah kept driving, but his voice was quieter than before. I don't think that was a dream. The radio stayed fixed on 2:17 a.m. No static, no voices. Just the number like it had been printed there permanently. The road ahead looked normal again. Trees, rain, darkness. But normal now felt like a disguise we were all trained to recognize too late. Tyler lifted the camera. The red light was off. He frowned. It turned off. Rachel turned around sharply. "Did you turn it off?" Tyler shook his head. "No." Silence. Noah slowed slightly. "Mine too." He pointed at the dashboard display. It was blank. Not broken. Blank, like it was waiting for instructions. Then, the radio clicked once, and Walter's voice came through. "Come to calm." "Good morning." Rachel froze. "No," Tyler whispered. "That's not possible," Walter continued. "You re-entered the stable layer." Noah frowned. "What does that even mean?" Walter didn't answer directly. Instead, the SUV passed a road sign. Black Pine County, 12 miles. Tyler blinked. "That again?" Rachel whispered. "We already passed this." Noah shook his head slowly. "No, we didn't." But none of us sounded sure. That was the change. Uncertainty was spreading in small, precise doses, like something adjusting us instead of the world. Walter spoke again. "You are synchronized." Silence. Tyler frowned. "Synced with what?" Walter replied. "The correct version." The road ahead began to shift slightly. Not visually, conceptually, like the distance between objects wasn't consistent anymore. Trees repeating patterns. Rain falling in identical sequences. Noah slowed the SUV. "Guys?" Rachel leaned forward. "I think I remember this stretch." Tyler shook his head. "No, you don't." But his voice lacked conviction. "Because I felt it too. A memory that wasn't attached to a time. Just a sensation of already having been here." The radio crackled faintly. Walter spoke again. "You are stable now." A pause. "That means you are usable." Tyler frowned. "Usable for what?" Walter didn't answer. Instead, the SUV passed a familiar point. Mile marker 11. But it was clean. New. Unbroken. And beneath it, carved into the metal post, was something faint. "Welcome back, Sen," Rachel whispered. 3? Noah slowed the car. "That's new." But I knew it wasn't, because something in my chest tightened at the number. Not fear, recognition. Tyler pointed at the forest. "Guys, look." We turned. Between the trees stood figures. Not the smiling town people. Not the creature. Not Walter. Just silhouettes. Motionless. Watching, Rachel whispered. "I think they're waiting for us to notice them," Noah muttered. "I don't like when things wait." The radio clicked again. Walter's voice returned. "We are approaching the entry decision point." Tyler frowned. "Entry to what?" Walter answered. "The memory that continues you." Silence. Rachel shook her head slowly. "I don't want to continue anything," Walter replied gently. "That is not available." The SUV began slowing on its own. Noah tried accelerating. Nothing. The car simply ignored him. Tyler looked at me. "Bruh, it's doing that thing again." I stared forward. The road was splitting again. Not physically, but visually. Multiple faint versions of the same road appearing overlaid like transparent layers, Rachel whispered. "I remember choosing something here." Tyler turned sharply. "No, you don't." But then he stopped, because he looked uncertain again. The radio went quiet. Then Walter spoke one final time. Soft. Direct. "This is where you confirm continuity." A pause. Or reject it again. The SUV stopped completely. Engine still running. Rain still falling. But everything else felt paused. Rachel turned to me slowly. "Do you hear that too, right?" Tyler nodded. Noah whispered. So what do we do? And I realized something terrifying again. This wasn't the first time I had been asked this exact question. Not even close. The road wasn't taking us somewhere. It was waiting to see if we would repeat ourselves correctly. And I couldn't tell anymore which version of me was supposed to answer. The SUV stayed still in the middle of hollow stretch road. Not stalled, not broken. Just waiting like it had reached the exact point where movement was optional. The rain outside slowed again, not stopping, just becoming precise. Tyler stared at me. Okay, this is the part where something usually goes wrong, Rachel whispered. I think we already said that before. Noah exhaled slowly. I'm tired of being right about bad things. The radio clicked. Walter's voice came through immediately, like he had never left. Good. A pause. This is alignment. Tyler frowned. Alignment with what? Walter answered calmly. With what you already chose. Silence. That sentence didn't feel like information. It felt like confirmation of something hidden under everything we'd experienced. Rachel shook her head. No, I didn't choose anything. Walter replied softly. You did. As not as you. The SUV dashboard flickered. The camera turned on by itself again. But this time, the screen didn't show the road. It showed inside the SUV, from above, like something was watching us sit there. Again, and again, and again. Different versions layered over each other. Some of us arguing. Some silent. Some missing. Tyler whispered. We're being watched in bulk. Noah looked at me. Why is it always reacting to him? Walter answered immediately. Because he is the continuity point. Rachel turned slowly. What does that even mean anymore? Walter paused. Then, it means if he stabilizes, you all remain. A long silence. The rain outside stopped completely. Tyler blinked. That's not normal. Noah looked out the windshield. The road ahead was now perfectly straight. Too straight, like it had been corrected. Rachel whispered. I don't feel scared anymore. That scared all of us more than anything else. Because it wasn't relief. It was adjustment. Walter's voice came again. You are ready for final alignment. Tyler shook his head. Nope, I don't like the word final. But the SUV doors locked themselves. One by one. Click, click, click. Rachel panicked. No, no. Noah tried the locks. Nothing. The radio spoke one last time. Proceed. The SUV began moving forward on its own. Slowly, smoothly, slowly, smoothly, like it had been waiting for this exact moment since the beginning. Tyler looked at me. Man, what did you do? I didn't answer. The road ahead opened into fog again, but this time it wasn't chaotic. It was clean, organized, like an entrance. Walter's voice softened. This is the version that holds, Rachel whispered. Holds what? Walter answered. You. The SUV crossed into the fog. And for a moment, everything went perfectly still. There was no crash, no disappearance, no scream. Just a quiet transition from motion to stillness. We were parked again, but not on a road. Inside something that felt like a memory pretending to be a place. The SUV door unlocked itself. Tyler opened it slowly. We're here. Rachel stepped out first. The ground was dry, impossible dry. No rain, no wind, just soft gray light everywhere. No sun, no sky, no horizon. Noah stepped out next. This doesn't feel real. Tyler followed, still holding the camera. It was recording again, always recording again. Then I stepped out, and I understood immediately. We weren't in Black Pine anymore. We were inside the version that kept Black Pine stable. Walter stood a few meters away. No motel, no town, just him. Come, present, like he had always been there. Rachel whispered. What is this place? Walter answered. The maintained layer. Tyler frowned. So we're safe now? Walter shook his head. No. A pause. But you are consistent. Silence. Noah looked at me. So what happens now? Walter looked directly at me. You remain the anchor. Tyler blinked. So that's it? Walter nodded. Yes. Then he added, and you will not remember the other versions clearly anymore. Rachel frowned. Why? Walter answered. Because remembering fractures stability. Silence. The air felt lighter, cleaner, but wrong in a quiet way. Like something had been removed from the world that we were not allowed to notice missing. Tyler lowered the camera. So all that happened? Walter answered. Still happened. A pause. Just not here anymore. Noah looked around. No creatures? No town? No loops? Walter shook his head. Those are elsewhere now. Rachel whispered. And us? Walter looked at all of us. You are the surviving arrangement. Silence. The word arrangement felt colder than anything we'd heard before. Tyler finally said, So we just live normally now? Walter nodded slightly. Yes. Then he added, Until the next correction. The air flickered once, very subtly, like reality blinking, and for a fraction of a second, I remembered everything again. All versions, all loops, all roads, and then it was gone. Tyler smiled nervously. You guys ready to head back? Rachel nodded slowly. Noah sighed. Yeah, let's go. We turned toward the SUV, and I hesitated for just a second, because somewhere deep inside that hesitation, I still felt Hollow Stretch Road, waiting and remembering us back.